This is an open letter for Stephen, my cousin. Stephen Nejat Nezhat, or whatever you call yourself today. Here's the thing, Stephen. This is an open letter about responsibility. The word responsibility, that's the subject of responsibility, and what does responsibility actually mean in practice? I think what responsibility actually means in practice is that if you see something, you have to take a position about it. If you see something, you have to take a position with regard to that something. Period. People who don't take a position in life basically say, oh no, I don't know. I don't have no opinion. I don't have no idea. I'm not going to take a position. They're being irresponsible. They call it they call it we are being they don't call it themselves, they don't call it irresponsibility, they call it politics. They call it, being political. That is to say, if you see something, whatever you see, you don't take a position, you don't take a stand, you don't clear your position for people around you. That for some is regarded as being political, being smart. That nobody ever knows what is your position regarding anything until the very last moment, or unless something affects you personally, then you take a position. Well, that's the whole idea of that old poem that said, first they came for the Jews and I said nothing. First they came for this and I said nothing, and then they came for them and I said nothing, and eventually they came for me. But there was no one there to object. So it's the whole idea, but that's the whole point. Responsibility is that if you see something is happening to somebody else, you feel responsible, even if you are not very close to that person, familiar with that person, not even the same religion or race of that person. But when you see an objectionable thing happening to another person, you must take a position. Now, whether you do something about it or not depends on how much responsibility do you feel, and how capable you are, and how much responsibility do you feel, and how much affinity do you have towards that person, that that you actually do something about it. The question now this is the general topic of it, but what I'm trying to get at is that you guys, your family, and Iraj's family, our other fucking uncle, you guys saw what was happening to me, to my life. At age 13, becoming a refugee, having all kinds of shit happening to me in my life before I was, able to drag myself, or I was dragged in United States at age 14, away from family, all alone. And you saw the idea that you saw, what you and your family saw, what Iraj and his family saw, was that for 1 year, for 2 years, for 3 years, every other month, your father, Iraj, your family, his family, you were all calling my father and telling him about, money situation, that he needs to support his son. And for 3 years, this was happening, and my father wouldn't send a penny to his brothers. That would be your father and Iraj, our other uncle. And you saw that. Your family saw that, the situation. And the idea is that you're seeing irresponsibility from my father. You were seeing, witnessing live, firsthand, that this cocksucker, my father, is showing how irresponsible he is. He has a child that, right about puberty, hasn't passed puberty, and can't work, can't stand on his own in a faraway land. And his father is showing as much responsibility as a reptile. As a reptile shows towards, its offspring. I mean, even reptiles probably show more responsibility. But my point is this, that the position that if your parents, if Iraj, if his family, if your family, if anybody in this extended family had an ounce of gray matter to work with, the idea would have been, oh, see how bad he has it. This is his irresponsible father. This kid's irresponsible. His father is so irresponsible that he doesn't care how we are treating his son. He doesn't want to send a penny, not even 10%, not even enough money to cover 10% of his expenses or 20% of his, nothing. Some money that would show us that he actually wants to pay his expenses eventually. But nothing came forward from my father. No money for 3 years. And nobody said that, okay, we can see how irresponsible his father is. It would not be responsible for us to send this kid back to such an irresponsible father. It's sort of like saying that, right now, in any kind of civilized society, if they see that the parent is irresponsible, not paying the child's expenses or drinking in excess or using drugs or whatever, any kind of showing irresponsibility, the state takes the kid away, the child services gets involved, takes the kid away and says, fuck you. Obviously you're not responsible. We're going to give this kid to somebody who is responsible to raise the motherfucker. That's it. When you see that my father was so fucking irresponsible that literally didn't give a flying fuck about his other son, Farokh, but even he, at least he could have said that, okay, Farokh is over 18. Although, your responsibility doesn't stop when your son turns 18. But from the way he was behaving towards me, it showed that he literally, sort of like as soon as the son turns 7, he feels he's no longer responsible, because he didn't feel even responsible for a 13-year-old son. That was my father. His brain was a little sideways. Didn't click right. If you had a penis and you were his son, as soon as you hit puberty, he thought that that's it. I'm done. You hit puberty, you go, hunt for yourself. But as you can see from what has happened afterwards and what happened recently, is that he's willing to actually spend all our family's money and savings and whatever on his daughter, even though his daughter has a husband and has kids. Now he's spending our family's money on her kids. It's sort of like, if you got for his daughter, the daughter is never grown up, the daughter is never independent, and he will pay for the daughter and the daughters of the daughter until the day he dies. Doesn't matter how old the bitch is. But as soon as the son hits 7 years old, that's it, I'm done. If you got a penis, I have a penis. If you have a penis, you can't live in my house. In my house, only my penis. That was his theory. That in my father's house, his idea was there needs to be only one penis, and that's his. Anybody else with a penis must leave, and with no support. Just go out, get out. That was his idea. That was his, brain not clicking right. So you see this, your parents saw this, Iraj saw this, and did they show any kind of responsibility? Did they sit down and think that, oh shit, this poor kid, he's our nephew and he's stuck with such an irresponsible father that no matter how many times we ask him to, send money to support at least a percentage of his kids' expenses, he doesn't send a penny. And all he does, he just keeps telling us to use his son more around the house, as if his son should be our servant. What kind of irresponsible father says, I'm not going to pay the expenses of my son, but you can use my son as your servant? Instead of paying the expenses, just, send the son to be a servant. At the same time that he doesn't, stops any kind of, has no cap on his limit of spending for his daughter. At the same time that he doesn't have a limit for spending money on his daughter, he absolutely doesn't want to support in any way his 13-year-old son, his 14-year-old son. Not even a penny. This shows madness. This shows irresponsibility. Irresponsibility to the point of madness. The guy is mad. So irresponsible that he's, it seems he's mad. Crazy. So one would think that in an enlightened group of people would sit down and, I'm imagining this should have happened, that, Iraj and Manucher would sit down with their wives, would sit down and, just the four of them, and say, hey, this is the situation. This kid is here and his father is not sending any kind of support. His father is basically doesn't feel at all responsible for the kid. Now, it's clear that even if we send the kid back, the father is not going to change. He's going to be as irresponsible and an asshole as he is now. He's going to be when his kid goes back home. It's sort of like saying that, imagine, it's like a drug addict brother, his kid, irresponsible drug addict, gambling, alcoholic brother, an irresponsible person. His kid going to his other brother's house, and the other brothers taking care of the kid for a while, then asking this brother to, take back responsibility of the kid, and the irresponsible brother saying, no, I don't want to. And these guys, instead of sending the kid to the state and, either they continue supporting him or sending the kid to state for adoption or do something else, they say, you know what, we're gonna send the kid back to that irresponsible drug addict, alcoholic, irresponsible father. We're gonna send the kid back to that motherfucker. That shows your absolute irresponsibility. If you're willing, if you see an irresponsible parent and you're in a position to, judge the situation, take a position and determine that what you're witnessing is an irresponsible parent who's not willing to take responsibility for an underage kid, then you decide that, okay, I'm not going to send this kid to the parent because, he's shown how fucking irresponsible he is. We are going to either consider this case as a charity, we're going to raise this kid because we are responsible people, right? We are good people, we are responsible people. This should have been the conversation between Iraj and his wife and Manucher and his wife, your father and his wife, and the four of them together. Just talk about this matter, that how irresponsible their brother is, forget about him and see whether they want to take care of the kid themselves or they want to turn the kid to the state for adoption. You don't send the kid back to an irresponsible piece of shit parent. You don't do that. If you're responsible, you don't do that. If you feel responsibility, you don't do that. Who does that? But your parents did. Sort of like, fuck him. If his father doesn't feel the responsibility, we're not going to show any responsibility either. Fuck him. Oh, thank you very much. We are dealing with the whole extended family of fucking irresponsible people. You're not gonna take responsibility? Fuck you. I'm not gonna take responsibility. Okay, so let's throw the kid in the trash. Let's fuck the kid. You think this would happen in a Swedish household? Extended family? Do you think this would happen into a German extended family? Do you think this would happen to a Finnish extended family? Do you think this scenario would happen to, people with some kind of intelligence, some kind of sense of responsibility? No, it wouldn't. It only happens to brown-skinned shit like me and you. That our father shows the responsibility, then my brother copies him and brings up his irresponsibility and says, because my father has shown irresponsibility towards me, I'm going to show irresponsibility towards my brother. And then comes up to your father and Iraj, and the uncles also said, because the father and the brother show responsibility, we're not going to show any responsibility, so let's throw the kid back into the toilet bowl, back into the trash. Let's send the kid back to a shithole like Iran. No one, absolutely no one in this fucking family, this fucking extended family, has shown any kind of responsibility to show, to be an indication of any kind of intelligence, any kind of logic, any kind of compassion, any kind of, sense of responsibility. Dignity, nothing. Absolutely nothing. And you're thinking to yourself is like, what stupid people. And these people value education? Fuck you. This is way before education. This is just common sense and sense of responsibility that these fucking people, my people, your race, my race, doesn't have. No sense of dignity, no sense of responsibility, no sense of honesty. Nothing. Shit. My family, my father's side of family is one kind of shit, and my mother's side of the family is another kind of shit. None of which are responsible. Their responsibility doesn't even come to their mind. No, no, no. Every man for himself. Fuck everybody else. Let's rape each other's children. Let's throw each other's children in the trash. Let's kick each other's children. Let's kick our own children. Let's burn this house to the ground. Let's burn our family name to the ground. Because we don't care. That brings me to the other point, Stephen. About the family name. If you don't care enough to do the right thing, if your family didn't care enough to do the right thing when the right steps needs to be taken in order to show responsibility, then that is the time that the family name goes under question. Not the time that somebody like me comes out and talks about it. You see, when you take the wrong action, that is when you are putting your own last name under question. When you take the wrong action, not when you get caught. You think that stealing is okay as long as I don't get caught. So I'm going to show responsibility and steal, and everything is fine. But then nobody else should talk about it, because if they talk about it, if they catch me, if they talk about it, then only then is when my last name goes under question. My family, my name, where I come from, everything goes under question. No. It's not when the people talk about it. It's when actually you do the wrong thing. So there is no justification for you to, you and, the rest of this fucking family to turn to me and say, oh, no, don't talk about it. Let's keep our reputation intact. No, your reputation was lost when your father, your mother, Iraj Farin, decided that since his father is showing responsibility and since his brother is showing responsibility, fuck him. We are going to show responsibility as well. Fuck him. Let's fuck the child. Let's treat him like shit, like a servant, as your family did. Let's treat him like a servant, and as soon as possible, send him back to the shithole he came from. We're not responsible. Then, I'm sorry. That's it. The sense of irresponsibility. If you are not responsible, then you shouldn't mind later on people say that, yeah, maybe you're not from a good family because you don't show responsibility, you don't show compassion, you haven't shown anything that matters. And now I have to be quiet so our family reputation remains intact. But that reputation that you wanted to stay intact is unearned, is a lie. It's a lie. You want a lie, perpetuate a lie that we are good people, we are responsible people, we are. No, we are not. I've seen it. My life is the history of my life, what has happened to me is a example of what what happens when a family, a nuclear family and an extended family, when the whole bunch, the whole idea of responsibility is not there. Responsibility to be honest, responsibility to be fair, responsibility to be dignified, responsibility to take care of each other, responsibility to not let a kid go back to an irresponsible household. Then what is this reputation is based on? What is this reputation we are trying to keep? Then we are trying to perpetuate a lie. No, I had it. Lies are not good. You bring out the lies, you tell the truth, and maybe the next generation understands that you cannot perpetuate a lie. If you want to be dignified, if you want to be known as responsible, if you want to be known as logical, if you want to be known as caring human beings, you actually have to be all of that. You actually have to show responsibility, logic, caring, compassion. You have to show it. You can't pretend, because eventually it's going to come out. A jackass like me is going to raise his voice and let it all hang out. It's unfortunate. I wish I wasn't born at least in this race. It's a whole fucking race of irresponsible people. Family and a race, family, extended family of irresponsible jackasses.